My next guest is a potential future leader of the Democratic Alliance. It could happen as early as next month. Since Helen Zille announced that she was stepping down, all bets are on as to who will be the person to succeed her. Could it be Mmusi Maimane, the man who has been in Parliament as the leader of the opposition in that house for a very short period of time? He is the leader in the National Assembly of South Africa. He joins me this evening on Tonight with Bruce Whitfield. Mmusi Maimane, are you the next leader of the Democratic Alliance?
Good evening, Bruce, and thank you. Well, that will remain to be seen on the 9th of May. For now, we certainly are taking our time considering it quite strongly. It's an important role, and it's certainly succeeding a very important South African.
People see leadership contests as a one-person thing. You talk about we. Who's we?
No, I use the word we because it's got implications for my wife and I, and as a family we've given ourselves commitment to say we want to serve not only the DA but we'll serve the people of South Africa. So that's the we, but also it's important that the decision is seen in the light of how many other people in the DA believe that if it's right for me to lead, that they would give me their full support. So there's always, after all, a Congress that needs to be won. And we need to ensure that we emerge out of the Congress with the right leader for the party.
Now, that obviously is a process that has to happen in a month or so's time. In the meantime, there's lots of behind-the-scenes lobbying. There is the seeking of support. My guess is that you knew Helen Zille's announcement was coming before it came. Did you lobby beforehand? Were you lobbied beforehand as well by members of the party to say that Helen is going, will you stand, and we will support you if you do?
Not in the least bit. Not in the least bit. You know, I was overseas about a week ago, and then I came back to South Africa. I was really going to Congress to sit and be able to enjoy. I wasn't contesting any leadership position, and so what happened when the news came, just like anybody else, I was taken by surprise at its timing. Helen and I had seen each other a couple of weeks before that, and at that point she was going ahead and making a stand for leadership. So when she made a decision, it came as an absolute surprise, and when the communication came through, I, like anybody else, had to think quite deeply about what it would mean. So to refute the first is that it wasn't the lead time that I knew, but the second instant is that subsequent to that, of course, as people are working out what it means for them, they've come out and asked me if I will consider standing, and I've given them the response I'm giving you now with genuine sincerity that I've got to make sure that this is the best thing for the DA for now, and it will be the best thing for me to do.
But you are putting your name forward. I mean, you're keen for the job. If the party wants you, you'll take it.
It's up to whether my wife will allow me to stand.
No, most importantly, obviously, I mean, first, it's wife first, family first, and party second. Everybody gets that. We understand it. But is it something that is under serious condition in the Maimane household?
Of course it is. Of course it is. And we take it as serious as it is. Because, as I said to you, it's a serious job. This party is massive. The organization is, and Helen's shoes are some of the biggest shoes to fill. So I think it's a serious, and one of my greatest gratitude now is to be considered as someone who would likely take over from her. And it is quite encouraging to hear many South Africans make the call to say, I think you should stand and you should take the leadership role. So there is that aspect that has impressed upon us and has made such the decision, the monument of it, and the importance thereof.
You have a phone in your pocket which keeps going off, and that's probably Helen saying, Mmusi, this is the way to answer the questions. I don't know if you want to reach into your pocket and switch it off so Helen doesn't disturb us anymore. But when we look at it, Mmusi, in terms of your experience, your political experience, there are some critics who say, Mmusi Maimane, a guy born in 1980, he's a fresh face, he's a young face, perhaps too young. How would you respond to that?
Look, the greatest success that Helen put on the table for the DA was to make it possible for young people to lead. Certainly when I came into Parliament, those same variables were on the table. And Parliament is our biggest platform, and it is our biggest message to put out there. So the risk was always there. But one of the things that Helen did was to broaden the leadership base. I come into the DA noting the fact that to lead the party would mean to lead a team of South Africans who are competent enough, who've shown that are right across the structures you can give the length and the breadth of leadership. So one of the things about leading. It's about also accepting. I accept the fact that I'm young. I accept the fact that I'm coming in. But I also think if I was to do the job, I'd bring fresh ideas. I'd make sure that DA becomes the party that can represent more South Africans. And I want to make sure that that team that we lead becomes the team that could compete against any other team. And I think so that would be part of the legacy that Helen has put forward, and that would be something that I'd certainly work towards ensuring that becomes a reality.
Critics of 2015's DA say that the DA has abandoned its liberal principles, that it's no longer the Liberal Party of the days of Zach de Beer and Colin Eglin. Other people would say that's a very good thing. This is a party for a new South Africa, a truly multiracial party. Is the DA ready for a young black guy, age 35, on the 6th of June to take over?
Look, that decision they'll have to make at Congress, should I make myself available for the job. But having said that, as far as your first comment about where the DA's heritage, and I think one of the exciting things that will come out of this Congress is that the DA will launch a vision, a value set for the future. Those values are derived really from our traditions and come from a very liberal point. If you define liberalism as a function of that a market-based economy, the sense that which individuals must stand, that the rule of law must be upheld, all of those will be communicated right through. But we'll launch a picture, a snapshot of what South Africa would look like with a DA in power. And I think a combination of those two things will mean coming out of that, we'll not only have a new team with it will have a fresh vision that hopefully will be able to encapsulate the people of this country. The most important thing about this job is not only that that leader will be able to lead the DA internally, but it's about the message to South Africans. It's about whether South Africa is ready for a new leader and a new leader of the opposition with their view of saying if the DA doesn't get into power in the next one or two elections, it has a serious risk for South Africa. So I think it's a function of both saying projectively, can that leader be able to take South Africans forward with them, and can that leader be able to make sure that the DA ends up as a party in government?
I mean, one looks at the election results of 1994, the performance of the DP was virtually non-existent. The ANC came first, the Nats came second. Tony Leon orchestrated the merger with the Nats. He got a very, very strong electioneering machine at the last elections. He got 22%, if memory serves. It's no longer out of the realms of possibility 2 or 3 elections from now that the DA, in alliance with other parties potentially, could become a governing party in South Africa. Is that out of the question?
It's not, and that's an exciting prospect. And one of the next and most exciting one is that actually when you look at the metros for next year, the DA could be in government in many more metros, certainly outside of Cape Town and in other places. So that begins to shift a wave in South Africa where people are saying, if we don't like this government, we can vote for a new one. And then ultimately, as other political parties are remaining unstable, we've seen the EFF as an unstable force. We've seen how when the ANC, the alliance isn't holding, and ultimately they'll enter into a succession debate that is quite serious. There's instability across the other parties. We've shown signs of growth, and if we can maintain that, who knows what maybe 2019 can bring, and certainly the election after that. I think South Africa and the significance of this moment cannot be separated from the fact that South Africa overall is going through a phase where there's great sense of change. There's a great sense at which we're saying, what does it mean for South Africa in 10, 15 years from now? And with that, with instability and other factors such as higher unemployment, etc., and more people finding things tough as it's going, South Africans can sit back and say, there's a change coming and we need to find a new change. Otherwise, we can't just keep doing more of what we've been doing or certainly voting for the same party as we have been. You
talk about instability in the Tripartite Alliance. You talk about instability within the EFF. The EFF is the outlier here, increasingly populist and popular. The ANC got a very strong brand. The DA's biggest problem, perhaps, is its legacy. How does a Mmusi Maimane-led DA address the legacy issues to broaden its appeal to more South Africans?
Look, that's what I'm saying. It's a combination of saying, here's a vision. Because for many people, history remains important, but equally so, there's a new generation of South Africans, those young people who, for many of them, apartheid was something they saw at the tail end, or certainly wasn't a legislated thing in their lifetime. They might have felt its effects and still do. But today they look back and they say, more than anything, I'm worried about my tomorrow. So the arm wrestle here is that the DA will have to contest for South Africa's future. I think all of us in general, as South Africans, are sitting down and saying, we want someone who we can hold a future for, who we can say, South Africa will be better in these hands, and this is what the picture will be able to say. What the ANC is going to campaign on is on history. What people who are maybe in some ways are, and I'm not saying statues are not an important issue in South Africa, because I get their symbolism, but they also represent a contestation for the past. What South Africa desperately needs is someone who can contest for tomorrow and say what is the future of this country looks like. So to overcome the legacy issue will be the exercise of saying, let's talk about South Africa's tomorrow, and whoever can paint that picture better in people's minds will be the person that can hopefully lead South Africa.
So what date do you announce your candidacy?
Sorry?
What date do you announce your candidacy? What date do you tell us that you are running in May? He's taking the Hillary Clinton approach.
I will certainly know.
There we go. He's taking the Hillary Clinton approach. We'll leave it there. Mmusi Maimane, leader of the Democratic Alliance in the National Assembly. Thank you for joining us on Tonight with Bruce Whitfield. That is the guy many people in the DA say is likely to be their next leader. At 35 years old in June, it's a fresh face. It's fresh blood. Certainly he has had some interesting times in Parliament as well. Watch the space. May is going to be an interesting one. Can the DA hold it together, or does it run the risk of seeing fracturing of the Democratic Alliance in the same way we've seen the EFF and within the Tripartite Alliance? Time's going to tell. Thank you for watching. There'll be more tonight. Tomorrow, ulale kahle, robala hantle. Good night.